Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 128 of the Seezus Show. It's your boy, Sir Seezus, and I'm back, better than ever. I know it's been, about 2 weeks since our last episode got released as well, too, but I hope you guys have, not only digested episode 127, but also were able to, just look at all the mini chops that we kind of had up as well, too. So, shout out to Warren Wheat, my graphic designer / social media manager, for constantly creating and placing some content out there as well, too. But before we get into today's episode, this is going to be something that's relatively pretty new. So to give you guys context, this is episode 128, and it may have been episode 1 through 10 when I used to go solo as well, too. So this one kind of feels like a radio type of vibe as well, too. So Terrence Whaley, my co-host, and Carl Conyers both couldn't be here today. So I just wanted to keep the ball rolling as well, too. I just want to have some content out, and we'll see how it definitely goes as well, too. So stay tuned, and this is probably going to be more so of a free flow. So I hope you guys enjoy it. But before I get into the hottest topics of today, I always like to rehash the episode before. So episode 127, Carl Conyers, Terrence Williams, myself discussed John Morant shenanigans, Draymond Green versus Dylan Brooks, our concern level for the Warriors and the Grizzlies, Katie's injury, and the Suns' titles hopes. All these injuries are just kind of been going around in general. It's just kind of crazy with the advancement in technology that we have, that there's so many injuries within the NBA season. And then obviously Fred VanVleet getting fined for criticizing the refs, getting that little check taken away from him as well, too. And then updates on Lakers and Clippers and much, much, much more. So continue to subscribe on all forms of social media platforms, whatever you want to call it, at the Seezus Show, at Sir Seezus, at Carl Conyers, at Terrence Whaley _ as well, too. So we can go ahead and get straight into it. Now, you guys know I am a Clippers fan. But more so because of Kawhi. So my real team is actually the San Antonio Spurs. And, they're not doing too well right now. But, Kawhi, wherever Kawhi goes, I like to support as well, too. So you can say I'm a temporary Clippers fan for the time being as well, too. But got some shocking news the other night. I was actually in my acting class, and when I got out of class, they said that Paul George has suffered an injury, and it didn't look too good as well, too. So pulling up this information right now, it looks like he got a knee sprain. So he avoided torn ligaments, and there's no surgery expected. So from Om Young-Misuk, LA Clippers star Paul George avoided torn ligaments in his sprained right knee and is not expected to require surgery. While George will miss the remainder of the regular season, it will not be reassessed for 2 to 3 weeks. The Clippers breathed a sigh of relief that he did not suffer a more significant injury when he landed awkwardly after colliding knee-to-knee with Oklahoma City's Lou Dort in the fourth quarter of Tuesday's 101-100 loss to OKC. And then Ty Lue basically came out and said he's a little disappointed as expected. I mean, kind of makes sense when you're, finally gelling together, especially after the Russell Westbrook acquisition, and then also getting in new players to try to mesh together, try to find your identity, try to find that right rotation. And it seemed like Paul George is actually, hitting his groove a little bit as well, too. He said his knees was feeling fine, and, he started to be way more aggressive on the offensive end as well, too. And I love PG, but sometimes it can kind of be a love-hate relationship as well, too. I just feel like he's too talented to continuously settle for jump shots as well, too. But the best version of PG is when he is aggressive, has tunnel vision, and is attacking the basket and putting pressure at the rim and putting pressure on that defense as well, too. So it sucks a little bit. I was looking at the standings right now. And by the way, yesterday, which was Saturday, so this is pre-recorded when you guys hear this on Monday, the Clippers got their asses kicked by the Pelicans. But right now the Clippers are 39-36, and they're currently 5th in the Western Conference as well, too. So Norman Powell's still out, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly when he's going to come back, because PG averages 23 points a game, I'd have to say. And that's a lot to kind of make up as well too, because when you see the construct of the Los Angeles Clippers, it's the pecking order is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And then the rest are kind of role players. I mean, we got our third leading scorer, which is Norman Powell, but like I said, he's out right now. So I don't really know what to – I'm trying to figure out who's going to kind of fill that point per game, those 20-plus points right there. And then I had to think, I'm like, we forget that Russell Westbrook is not only going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's also one of the best point guards to ever play the game. Obviously, he's a little bit older, but I think he can still kind of compensate for that as well too. And we're just going to play through him and Kawhi Leonard. And, role players are definitely going to have to step it up as well too. So we're going to definitely see what happens with that as well too. But I'm more concerned about where we kind of end up. It's going to be kind of crazy because, like I said earlier, we're in the 5th seed. And, we got a tough schedule coming up as well too. I'm just kind of looking at the overview. We got the Bulls coming up tomorrow, home game. And then after that, I mean, we got less than 10 games of the regular season left over. So we got Chicago, then we got Memphis back to back. Then we got New Orleans, who just kicked our ass. Then we got the Lakers as well too, Portland, and then Phoenix. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things kind of just pan out as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we kind of end up at as well too. I mean, just kind of looking at the landscape right now with the seedings. I mean, ideally, you want to avoid the play-in because the play-in's interesting. Whether you're home, whether you're away, it's one game, playoff atmosphere. It could be the team that's very hot and, they are lights out from 3 and they win that game, or it could be some controversial calls. You don't have an entirety of 2 weeks to kind of just prepare for one opponent. It's just literally one and done, which I commend Adam Silver for kind of implementing these past couple of years as well too, especially when we got into the bubble. But looking at the horizon right now, Gary Payton Jr. just came back. I don't know if Wiggins going to come back. Looks like KD's on the verge to return. LeBron just came back as well too. Pelicans always find a way to make some noise. Ideally, I would like to stay in the top 6 seed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we slide on down. So Kawhi Leonard definitely has a lot of the burden to kind of carry as well too. But Ty Lue's a great coach. Kawhi Leonard's one of the best players right now. It's playoff basketball. Every game is playoff basketball right now. So I expect him to be relatively spectacular. I expect Russell Westbrook to be a little bit more aggressive, and everyone's just going to have to play their role as well too. So we'll see what happens with that. But ideally, I would probably want to play out of the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors because I feel like the Clippers are going to be 4 through 6. I'd rather play the Phoenix Suns just because the familiarity with Kevin Durant on that new team, Chris Paul being a little bit older, the depth that they kind of have right now. Looks like Ayton's a little banged up as well too. Obviously, Golden State Warriors haven't necessarily had the best road record, but they're champions at the end of the day. And I think if there's any team, they can be the ones to flip the switch, especially getting Gary Payton back as well too. That's going to be huge. But Steph Curry is pretty tough to beat in a 7-game series. I mean, we've kind of seen this for the past decade. He's been running shit. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But if I'm the Clippers, as long as you can stay above 500 at this point, I think you can definitely lock yourselves in for a top 6 seed as well too. So that's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how things kind of pan out as well too. Moving on from that, obviously Anthony Edwards suffered an ankle injury, and I think he could possibly be returning back sooner than expected, which is awesome as well too. I think they play a little bit later on today. It looks like they're playing the Golden State Warriors, and that's going to be a definite dogfight. This is why I like the play-in, though. This is exactly why I like the play-in, because it forces teams who are going to tank to up it up a notch. So I like it. But Anthony Edwards suffered an ankle injury. But on the flip side, Karl Anthony Towns returned. And Karl Anthony Towns missed 51 games due to a calf injury suffered late November. At first, I thought it was an Achilles. I didn't know what to expect. The way he just kind of went down reminded me of like KD back in the 2019 NBA Finals, that game 4, I want to say he came back. Could be wrong, but you guys can fact check me. But anyways, been out since late November. Missed 51 games. But he returned versus the Hawks, and in limited minutes, he looked pretty good, looked pretty aggressive. And one of those things where you haven't played him in a long time, so you kind of got to get a feel for how to play against him. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and they beat the Atlanta Hawks as well, too. And right now, seedings are always messing up, Seedings are always messing up. Right now, they are the 8th seed. They're 37-37. Now, when this comes out, they could be 38-37 or 37-38. So we'll see what happens with that as well too. But they're currently 8th in the Western Conference, and that's just another thing to kind of think about as well too. Like, I'm curious with Rudy Gobert, and I'm curious with him coexisting with Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, we have such a small sample size, but from what I remember when they were on the floor together, it was just the switching was just bad. So I feel like you're going to have to try to stagger their minutes. I feel like whoever's going to be the oddball, the person that's going to be the oddball is probably going to be Rudy Gobert, just because he can't necessarily stretch the floor. So I envision them starting together. They're trying to do their Tim Duncan and, David Robinson type of, feel with the two bigs. But what's good is Cat can stretch the floor, but you're asking him to guard hybrid fours who are pretty quick off the dribble. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot when you just it's a lot different when you have to move even more as opposed to just standing there and sitting on the block, trying to go under screens when you're kind of guarding other bigs as well too. So I envision them starting together, but I mean, outside of that, you're probably going to have to stagger their minutes as well, too. But it really just depends on who they kind of play. But I wouldn't be mad if they go back to the playoffs as well, too. But I'm just kind of looking at this roster. I mean, Anthony Edwards, hopefully, like I said, he can come back real soon. You got Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, Nazir Reed. I mean, Kyle Anderson, Taurean Prince. They got some Austin Rivers. They got some weapons. But are those weapons good enough to get you to where you want to be, which is 1, in the playoffs, and then 2, can you make noise in the playoffs and get to the next round? I just don't see that happening with those guys. So that's just going to be a tough one as well, too. But if I did have a dream case scenario, it would definitely be – see, we talked about this a couple episodes, right, with the Dylan Brooks versus the Draymond Green, and then the Ja Morant situation, Memphis versus the Warriors. Like, ideally, that would be a great first-round matchup, but I wouldn't mind seeing that rematch. Obviously, Pat Bev's gone, D'Angelo Russell's gone, Vanderbilt's gone, Monk's gone, but it would be cool to see a part 2, the sequel of Minnesota Timberwolves going up against the Memphis Grizzlies as well, too. So Memphis should have beat them last year, but they just played some sloppy basketball as well, too. You can tell that they were a little inexperienced. But that would be the dream situation to see those two kind of go at as well, too. But now it's going to be great to see Anthony Edwards doesn't have to necessarily do a little bit of too much all-around game. I mean, obviously still kind of stay true to yourself, but you got literally a bona fide all-star. You can argue he's, a top 5 big right now? I mean, Joel's number 1, and B's number 2, AD number 3, and then you can slide him at number 4 if you want to. So that's an extra added boost for that Minnesota Timberwolves team. I'm just worried about how they're going to figure things out defensively, but it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of just pan out moving forward as well, too. Moving on from that, there's been an update on LeBron James. Now, when I was typing up some of my notes beforehand, it said I got a notification from ESPN that LeBron James would be questionable. And that questionableness turned into him actually suiting up. So I don't know what type of HGH they have over in Germany. I don't know what type of injections he got, what type of therapy, physical therapy he got, medicine, whatever you want to call it. But he came back pretty fast. He came back pretty fast as well, too. And obviously he's older, so I was just kind of expecting the ankle injury, because he's ever since ever since they won the championship after the bubble, like, I can't remember the guy, Solomon Hill. I think Solomon Hill was the one that injured his foot. It's just never been the same. I mean, LeBron always suffers ankle injuries, but when you got all that wear and tear on you, and then as serious as that original one was, it's just like, But he came back and he missed it. I mean, he only played 47 games this year, which is crazy. We know him. We've come to know him as Iron Man, and he missed 62. He missed 12 games. The last time he suited up was 228, and then he suited up today, which is the 26th, and they took an L. They ended up playing the Chicago Bulls. They lost 118-108. Looks like he came off the bench, but still played 30 minutes. Was plus minus is actually +4. Ended up having 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 turnovers, which is expected. You haven't played in almost a month, I want to say. And then he was 6-11 from the field as well, too. And I think D'Angelo Russell is out with the right hip injury. Obviously, Mo Bamba's still out as well, too. So it's one of those things where it's like the Lakers had their chemistry going. Austin Reeves was playing really well. Lonnie Walker just came back in the lineup. Like I said, AD was playing like the AD that we've come to know. Vanderbilt was very good on the defensive end, and just being that dog, that go getter, that guy that just does all the dirty work as well too. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder with D'Lo were doing a good job in the backcourt, so they've been playing relatively pretty well. But I was a little concerned with how well they were moving the ball and how they were connected on the defensive end. How LeBron James is going to basically interject himself into the rotation. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's LeBron James, right? He's one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT of this generation, at least. And he can play with anybody. He's played with everybody, with Cleveland, 2 go-arounds, with all-star caliber players, Team USA as well, too. And then also with the Lakers, with the young cats as well, too. Before he messed up his hamstring or his quad or whatever injury it was back in the day with the Lakers first round go-around, they were like a top 5 seed as well, too. So I was just kind of curious to see how players on his team were going to adjust to him. But, I mean, if anything, he should make your life a lot easier, just putting you in positions to be successful. I guess the only thing is just the spot-up shooting aspect as well, too. Like, for example, with a player like D'Lo, that's going to be fine. D'Lo's an above-average 3-point shooter as well, too. He can play. He plays off ball a lot. Austin Reeves looks like he kind of needs the ball in his hands a little bit more. So I was just kind of figuring out how they were going to tinker around with that lineup as well, too. Obviously, they took this L, but at the end of the day, I mean, when you look at it, it's probably just the turnovers. The Lakers had 18 turnovers versus 9. So, like I said, LeBron James he's going to take a game or two to kind of get back in rhythm, but they have to continue to keep Anthony Davis the number one option. Like, AD should not have 8 shot attempts ever. He should have a minimum of 16. Obviously, like, if the role players are shooting lights out, LeBron decides to take over, or D'Lo gets hot, that's understandable. But the game should be played through Anthony Davis as well, too. I don't want to see you with 15 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Cut that shit out. We're going to figure it out. But, I mean, right now, Lakers took that L. They were just the 8th seed. Now they're 37-38. Obviously, probably by the end of this episode, when you guys digest all of this content, the Lakers will probably be a little bit down in the standings. So right now they're the 9th seed, and they're literally just a half a game outside of the 8 seed. So the 8th and 7th seed. So they really need the Minnesota Timberwolves to take this L to the Golden State Warriors as well too. But with LeBron James back, I mean, we can just take a look at their schedule right now. It looks like with their schedule right now, who they got left? They got the Bulls again. So I think they traveled to Chicago. So let's see. They got the Bulls. Then they got Minnesota, playoff type of game. They have Houston, Utah, Clippers, Phoenix, Utah again. So realistically, I think they're going to beat the Bulls. In Minnesota, that's going to be a tough one. I got them losing to Minnesota. I got them beating Houston, beating Utah. It looks like they're starting to rest their players for the Tank Wars. LA, no PG. They should beat them. Phoenix, KD should be back. I got Phoenix winning and Utah beating Utah again. So out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, I have them winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They should go 5-2. They should go 5-2. And they should be 42-36 if my math is done correctly. I think they're 37 right now. So 42. They should win 42 games this year is what I'm trying to say as well too. So I think that will definitely have even the top 8 or top 10 since it's playing to give themselves a shot, because out of all the teams that are kind of outside of the top 6 from the East and West, I feel like that team is the team who can make the most noise. And when I say make the most noise, I think their ceiling truly could be a conference finals appearance or even the NBA finals as well too, because let's say hypothetically speaking right now, Denver obviously have been to the conference finals back in the bubble. The bubble is just kind of a weird year, but if they get the 8th seed, they play Denver. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would kind of favor the Los Angeles Lakers, but if you beat them, then now, I mean, you got to worry about the banged up Clippers and kind of banged up Suns. You can take your chances with that. And then from there, it's essentially the winner of the Memphis and Sacramento. So they got a path to kind of get to where they need to be, but only time will tell. So LeBron James definitely has to step his game up to another level. It's 0 Dark 30 time. So we're going to see what happens with that as well, too. Ja Morant returned. It's crazy. We had a whole bunch of conversation. Carl Conyers and Terrence Whaley and myself, we were just like, you think he's going to come back? How many games is he going to be gone for? Is he going to be a distraction? What is the league going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Well, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. He came back 2 games. Came off the bench. I don't know what happened with his face. I should have done a little bit more research on that as well. I've only been able to kind of catch the highlights, but he has a mask on, so I'm not sure what happened with that, even though it's not really important right now. But came back averaging 17.5 points per game, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and shooting 86% from the free throw line as well. So I thought Memphis was going to be, especially with the injuries with their big man, Brandon Clark, and then with Steve Adams, who's still out, Dylan Brooks in and out the lineup. I thought they were going to fold. But I'm sorry. That's not the correct phrase I want to say. I want to say that to kind of figure out what the future is going to be like, you have to kind of go into the past, right? So I try to look up the numbers, but I kind of rushed over here, but I'm pretty sure Memphis Grizzlies have a winning record without Ja on the floor since like last season, and maybe the season before that as well too. But even this year, they're 10-8 without Ja Morant. I mean, that's 2 games over 500. That definitely punches you a spot into the playoff / playing as well too. But they have the depth, they have their identity to kind of get things done as well too. For Ja's sake, I hope we all watched the interview, He seemed like he was telling the truth as well too. Some people are saying that 2+ weeks wasn't enough. He needed more time, but at the end of the day, man, I think he's gonna be good moving forward. I just hope he can really, really, really think before he acts. Hopefully the therapy's helped him out as well too, managing stress, and he just needs to focus on basketball. And that should be the sole focus. I mean, obviously not the sole focus. Basketball, his family, and then just protecting himself as well too, because as you move up in this ladder of success, there's going to be a lot of things trying to pull you down. So if he can separate himself amongst the yes men, I think he'll be fine as well too. But just seeing Ja, like, I kind of took Ja Morant for granted. He's literally like the second coming of Derrick Rose. I mean, obviously Derrick Rose is a little bit more athletic, but it's been a while. But Ja Morant is really, really, really tough. And I know I came on air the other day with Terrence, and he agreed with me as well too. We said that Shy is better. I think Shy is better, but you can't go wrong with Ja or Shy. I just like the size, and Shy also just got the swag too, so I have a little bit more favoritism towards him. But I love Ja Morant as well too. I love Ja Morant, and I took his game for granted when he was gone, man. So quick, so fast, so athletic, so shifty. A hell of a playmaker as well too. He puts so much pressure at the rim, just collapses the defense, and that's one thing that Memphis did miss, was that person that can constantly provide pressure at the rim where your defense is collapsing. You have the open man to kick it out to. So obviously he's not the best shooter. When he's hot, he can shoot the ball. I mean, we saw him kick out the Golden State Warriors in the play-in that one time. He was just hot from the Tracy. He may have done that joint twice, maybe. But besides the point, they need him. And, I mean, the way that the West is so shaky right now, the only consistent teams are the top three teams. Just Denver, Memphis, and the Sacramento Kings. And part of that has to do with health. A lot of it has to do with health. But those are the only consistent teams. And I know that KD's going to come back. PG's going to eventually be back, I think, by the playoffs. LeBron's working his way back right now. We don't know what's going to happen with Wiggins. But you have to, right now, you have to go with the teams that have been the most consistent and the most healthiest. Obviously, the wild card could probably be, like I said, LeBron James or the Golden State Warriors, just because of their championship DNA, and then the Phoenix Suns with KD. Like, you can't count out KD, but right now, as a viewer of the game, you have to look at what's in front of you with your own two eyes, and that's, like I said, is the health and the chemistry and the consistency that they have right now as well too. So I don't know, man. I think this is a blessing in disguise, because Ja Morant has been able to rest. You know, he hasn't played he's played majority of his games, right? But it's been one of those things where, like, he gets banged up along the way as well too. I mean, if we look at his last couple games, I mean, COVID was kind of weird, right? Things got placed on hold, right? 67 games first year, 63 next year, 57 and 55 right now. So it looks like he's going to at least give you at least a minimum of 60 games. But to have that, to be fresh with less than 10 games, and then your team is playing so well that you don't even have to start, and you play only about 30 minutes, like that's a great sign as well too. That's an amazing sign. So going back to the last episode, are you concerned a little bit more for the Warriors or Memphis? I'm more concerned for the Warriors now. No Wiggins, no ring. I'm going to say that one more time. No Wiggins, no ring. I don't care how great Steph Curry is. Amazing. One of the best players ever. One of the most exciting players I've ever seen with my two eyes. He literally Jesus in the rare flesh. But that defense, man. And that's an all-star missing as well, too. And they're wrecking on the road, like I said. So I'm not really concerned with Memphis. And I think whoever they get in the first round, it's going to be tough because it's so jumbled up going back and forth. But I'm starting to become a fan of them again. And right now, the playoffs ended today. With no Zion, they can definitely take care of the Pelicans. They can definitely take care of the Timberwolves. They can definitely take care of the OKC Thunder. Dallas defense is pretty mid right now. They're the 11th seed. They could definitely take care of them. So it really just comes down to matchups. But I really like what I'm seeing with Ja Morant. I'm happy that he's back. it looks like when you have things taken for granted, you really come to realize how appreciative you are of the moment. So it looks like with him, he's happy. And he just wants to go out there and hoop and prove everything wrong. And I love his mindset. You know, they've only gotten to the second round, but just watching the interviews, like our focus is on a chip. So we gonna see what happens with them as well too. So I'm looking very forward to that as well. Another thing I kind of want to touch up on is Ben Simmons' injury update. It's crazy. Like, if you'd have told me Ben Simmons' rookie year that Giannis would be better than him, I would have probably said, "What are you talking about? What are you smoking on? Like, what are you actually smoking on?" So much promise, man, but sometimes you can't always get handed lemons to make lemonade. And it's been a very interesting season for Ben Simmons. Like, let's just take a look at his stats. His stats this year. He played 42 games, and out of those 42 games, looks like he averaged 7 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 56% from the field, and 57% if you want to round numbers up, and then 44% from the free throw line. And he hasn't played the last, god damn, 74 minus 59. I've been out of class for so long, so many years. Like, I can't even count nowadays. Let's see, the 74 minus, 59. He's missed the last 15 games. It's crazy. He's making $30 million. And that $30 million can literally go to more, like another superstar you can sign to go along with the young core that they already have already. But focusing on Ben Simmons right now, I just want to touch on it just a little bit as well, too. So, Jack Vaughn, their head coach, said that Ben Simmons is probably out for the season. Brooklyn Nets forward Ben Simmons was recently diagnosed with a nerve impingement in his back. The injury will keep him out indefinitely, but Nets coach Jack Vaughn is being realistic about Simmons' timeline to return. Quote from him: "For me as coach, there's some things that I can control, some things that I can't control," Vaughn said. "What I can't control is his impingement. What I can control is getting this group ready to play. And then in all honesty, the realism that he's probably not going to join us for the rest of the year, certainty will come once he continues to be looked at by specialists." So I was hard on Ben Simmons, and I'm always going to be hard on him because I guess it's just my expectations for him, right? I want him to, he has all the intangibles to be one of the most dominant players to play the game. We called him the Fresh Prince. We thought he was the second coming of LeBron, but you either are born with that motor or you develop that motor through experiences that you've kind of been through as well, too. And I can't speak on his upbringing, but it looks like he's lost some of that motor, lost some of that passion for the game. But back injuries are tough, man. Now, obviously, I've never played at a professional level, but I've done a good amount of research to know that backs and back injuries can definitely derail your career and your every form of day-to-day as well, too. So I think with him, he should take all the time he needs again and just kind of figure out what he wants to do. Because even when he was on the floor, it looks like he was kind of lost, and it looks like he lost his passion, just didn't want to be there, just collecting those checks. So for him, I mean, I don't really see him getting another big deal after this as well, too, because it's crazy. He's one of the best defenders, can guard the 1 through 5, one of the best playmakers as well, too, but he just doesn't want to shoot, doesn't want to constantly stay aggressive. And when people know that you have some form of doubt, some form of fear, they'll eat you alive. They will eat you alive. So I know I was talking a little bit of shit this year with Ben Simmons, but I mean, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt to an extent. Like it's like a 60% I'm gonna say because of your back, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, but that other 40% is just like it's the mentality. But I don't really see him fitting into Brooklyn's system right now. I don't. I really, 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 really don't. It's just tough. It's just tough. I mean, maybe he can play the point guard position with Spencer, but you got Bridges, you got Dinwiddie, you got Cam Johnson, who doesn't even really play like that, which is ridiculous. Nick Claxton, Seth Curry, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Dorian Finney-Smith, Utah Watanabe. They got Day'Ron Sharp. They got some pieces in there, but I think you should try to trade him or just keep him on the bench, let him collect those checks, and then when his contract's over with or expiring contract, some team would just take that up to clear up cap space for their future. But I don't. Right now, I don't see him playing basketball long term. I wouldn't be surprised after this contract it was just done. But he has to look himself in the mirror and figure out what he wants to do moving forward as well too. Do you want to be great? Do you want to be average? Do you love this game? Or do you like this game? Do you wake up and that's one of the very few things that's constantly racing your mind? Or do you like what it comes with as well too? Now, obviously, we want to be fruits of our labor, but you have to know what your why is. What is your why, Ben Simmons? What is your why? Damian Lillard. You can argue he's probably the second best shooting point guard of all time. We're looking at the landscape right now, and in the standings, I want to say that they're eliminated from the play. Nope, they still have hope. It's going to be a little tough. They're 3.5 games out of the play-in. They're 32-41, 3-7 in their last games as well too. And looking at Dame's stats, Dame's been going kind of crazy this year, man. And it sucks because when you're not winning, no one gives a hell about your stats. Like, no one cares. We know you're great, but no one really, truly cares. So in the 58 games he's played this year, he's averaging 32 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting 37% from three, 91% from the free throw line, 46% from the field. To be a high volume shooter and shoot 46% from the field, like, that's really, really good. And it's crazy, man. I remember they started off 4-0, and then they were 5-1, then 5-2, then 6-3, then 6-4, and then they were 9-4, and I was just like, damn. You know, they retooled. They got Day'Ron Sharp, Nurk looking healthy. Obviously, Dame's being the killer. Anthony Simon stepped his game up as well too. Then you got Jeremy Grant, who's been consistent NBA player, a consistent role player. With the West being so up and down, maybe they'll at least give themselves a chance as well too. But it looks like with Dame time, they're saying that the Blazers are likely to shut down Damian Lillard for the remainder of the season as play-in berths look doubtful as well too. And as far as his injury, I'm trying to figure out what exactly his injury was. I want to say it was a lower leg injury. If I was a betting man, I believe it was a lower leg injury. So it looks like his season's done. And I know he went on JJ Redick's podcast and said that he basically is happy with where he's at. It looks like he really likes stability. And the fact that he made it from nothing, that's all you can kind of ask for. And like I said, I didn't play professionally, but I know when you're in a competitive environment, situation, with whatever you do, you just naturally want to win. You know what I'm saying? And I know that this is his brand with ducking the grind, X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, it's like you've given your blood, sweat, and tears to this organization, and they've never done you right to build the team that literally complements your skill set. They didn't even necessarily have that coach either. I love CJ, but I don't think CJ will ever be a number 2 option to win a championship. Definitely number 3, but not a number 2. They never gave you two-way players. That undersized experiment with CJ and Dame never worked out. I mean, they got to the conference finals that one year, but outside of that, and even in the conference finals, they got swept. I just don't know what the current constructs of the roster is like. You say that you want to compete, but I don't know if you do have yes men around you, or you're just ignoring the fact that this roster isn't built to be a winning team to get to the playoffs. I mean, let's list these teams right now, fully healthy. Denver Nuggets with their big 3. Memphis Grizzlies with Ja and Jaren Jackson and them boys. Sacramento is on the rise right now. Phoenix Suns got a good window with KD. Clippers can never count out Kawhi and PG and Ty Lue. Golden State, self-explanatory. Pelicans are going to get Zion back, and hopefully he can stay healthy this year. Soda, Karl Anthony Towns, like I said earlier, one of the best bigs in the game, and then you got that with Anthony Edwards, who's upping his game to another level. Rob did with the Lakers, reconstructed that roster. They're probably going to go to the playoffs this year. And they got depth. OKC, we forget about Chet. We forget about Chet, and then they're going to get another player out the draft this year. Dallas probably going to retool and try to build around Kyrie and Luka. So outside of that, you're not playing for nothing. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what do you want to do? Like, it's cool to check all the boxes with the stats and lead the team in most threes made, most points, most rebounds, most assists, most games played, and all that. But it's just like, I know this part of your ego, Dane, that's just like, yo, I want to win. I know Spencer Dinwiddie came out and said, you know, unless you're Bron, Kobe, Shaq, blah, 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 like no one's going to remember. We going to talk about this. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, nothing really truly matters, but there's always going to be a topic of discussion. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like you need to have a conversation in the offseason. And I know he's too stubborn to do it. And I met him before. We were on set one time for his music video Juice. Got the signed autograph frame jersey. I should bring it here, but I like it in the display. Very respectful guy. You can tell he's an introvert. Once he's kind of around people, he's more comfortable and you open up a little bit. Wish him success for his Tokyo journey. He ended up getting gold. And I also played his double as well, too. So if you look at the Juice music video and you see the drone footage of Dame, and then you see him on the motorcycle, that's me. And then I also have a little part where I'm having confrontation with people, but that's me. If you pay close attention, there's a huge difference. We're the same height. I'm a little taller, but I'm only, about 65? He, like 200 plus? But besides the point, I'm on a rant right now. Enjoy this episode. I just feel like he's too stubborn to have a conversation and tell the front office that this isn't working, do right by me. So the front office is going to have to make that decision. We're paying you 50 plus. Let's look at Damian Lillard's salary, his salary he's making. Dame Lillard. Let's look this up right now. Dame Lillard's salary. And that's the thing about that Super Max. That should be so OD. Now, don't get me wrong. You get your money. I want to get my money first before anything else. Because tomorrow isn't promised. If I get that guaranteed money, we Gucci. You know what I'm saying? But, it's not too bad. A little bit. So after this season, it's making 42 right now. It's going to go up to 45, and then it's going to go on to $48 million. So that's not too bad, but after the extension is estimated in 25, 26 to 58, and then $63 million. So unless the salary cap goes up, like, he's literally 2 max players, so you got to kind of trade him now and try to win in the next 2 years before the salary kind of goes up as well too. But in having said all that, going back to what I originally wanted to say before I wrap this up, this topic up, is I think Damian Lillard needs to have a conversation with the front office, but it has to be on the front office's standpoint, and they just have to say, hey, we love everything you did for the city. You're always going to be immortalized here, but we want to go a new direction because clearly with you, we're a small market. We aren't able to put the right pieces around you, and we're young. Who wants to really come to Portland? What are the teams that you see yourself on, that you want to be on? And we will work out a deal to get you there. And then you got to take it from there. It's almost like you got to kind of exile them out there, you know? So, I mean, I know it's going to be a little weird with the music because it's all about the grind, but you've grinded enough. You know what I'm saying? I want to see you in the playoffs, man. I want to see you compete with a fire-ass team. And I know you him, but I want everyone to see and be like, oh, this is Dame time. These are the moments that you live for, man. We got to see AI take his team to the finals one time. And you the closest thing, I think, to AI since then, you know, with that energy, bro. So if there are any potential teams to kind of go to, I would love to see him play with Joker. You can find a way to get rid of Jamal Murray. I love Jamal Murray, by the way, but just the way Joker and Murray play that two-man game, if you flip that with Damian Lillard, would be crazy. Harden's getting older, so maybe a 3-team trade, and he goes to Philly to play with Embiid. He could have done that last year, honestly. If he demanded a trade, he could have been in Philly already. I mean, outside of that, maybe Miami. Miami would be a good destination for him as well, too. I love Paul George. I love you, PG. Your podcast, P. All that shit is fire. But if you guys want to break it up, I'd trade for Dame Lillard. You can take my draft picks if we have any. I got to look it up. Paul George and like Norman Powell, and just let Kawhi team up with him as well too, or find his way to Phoenix with Chris Paul's expiring contract or something. But the teams are limited. But I feel like whatever team he goes on, he's at least going to have a shot to compete for a title, or at least make a deep playoff run as well too. So definitely figure out what you want to do, Damian Lillard, because the world wants to see you go crazy with it. We definitely want to see you go crazy with it as well too. One of the last things I want to talk about before we get into our real rapper cap segment is MVP talk. MVP talk is always pretty interesting because there's always new narratives on what defines who wins the award as well too. This is a tough one. I definitely think the players, the player association, the owners, we all have to come to a consensus on what is going to be the bullet points, the parameters to win an MVP, you know what I'm saying, for the regular season award. And that's definitely something to think about because I don't think we've seen a 3-horse race like this in a long time with Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and also Joel Embiid right now. And also shout out to Joker. I didn't expect for them to, granted it was a back-to-back for Milwaukee, but I didn't expect Joker to come out there and get that dub in Denver versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And then this is going to air tomorrow, but they play the 76ers tomorrow. And if Joker can beat both MVP candidates back-to-back, granted James Harden's out, but back-to-back at home, the narrative changes just like that. Just like that. But staying on subject, here are my Sir Seezus parameters for MVP. Individual stats. You got to put up some good stats. This is just the stats era. Stats are inflated right now. There's a lot of pace and space in the league, man. So I feel like individual stats is number one. All around individual stats, points, rebounds, assists, free throw percentage, whatnot. Your offensive efficiency, that field goal percentage. How many shots are you taking? What type of shots are you taking? Are they good shots? Are they bad shots? You know, that's number 2. Number 3, what's your defensive impact? Now, I know the league is more tailored towards pace and space, a lot of less emphasis on defense. But at the end of the day, defense wins you games, wins you championships. And I feel like you have to be somewhat solid on defense as well, too. The whole point of basketball is to score the ball and stop another player from scoring. Whether it's individual assignment or you're helping, stealing the ball, getting deflections, charges, contesting, closing out, communicating with everyone. Defense matters. That's number 3. Number 4, your team record. I think you should be a top 4 team, top 4 in the standings in your conference. Number 5, team record in missed games. If I take this player off the team, how different is the situational game? Are you guys in shambles? Or is it kind of like the Ja Morant situation? Obviously, you're a much better team with Ja Morant. There's no debate about that, but they still have above 500 record, 10-8. If I take you off the team, how does your team fare? That's 5. 6, durability in games played. The best ability is availability. So I think we need a minimum of 60 to 65 games played in order to be considered for that most valuable player for the regular season. And last but not least, your team performance on offense and defense with you on the floor versus without you on the floor. So those are my parameters for MVP. I'm going to tag all these different, people and whatnot. And maybe you guys can take mine into consideration. Just give me a little bit of the proceeds, a little percentage, I'd rather say. Individual stats, offensive efficiency, defensive impact, team record in missed games, durability / games played, and then team performance on offense and defense with you on the floor versus without you as well, too. All right. Home run stretch. And I love talking about these Real Rapper Cap topics. So we're going to end this in a couple minutes. But I have a couple different topics. So you also shout out to Warren, the guy behind the scenes that kind of helps me out with some of these topics and whatnot. Real rap or cap, Tyler Hero will get traded in the off season. I say real rap. I think Tyler Hero is definitely one of the better players in the NBA as well too. But when you have Jimmy Butler, who's airing towards the end of his prime but still in peak form, and then Bam Adebayo, who's been stepping his game up for a long time, I think you need that third consistent, reliable option. And I feel like with Tyler Hero, obviously he's had that form of success in the bubble, but ever since then, burnout. The year after when they got beat up by the Bucks, and then he got injured last year as well too. And he's gotten better on the defensive end these past couple of years, but I feel like you need that consistent person. So I'm gonna go with Bradley Beal in an ideal situation, or Zach LaVine. Who knows? But I'm going with real rap that he will get traded this offseason. Real rapper cap, Mike Brown will win Coach of the Year. That's real rap. No one expected the Sacramento Kings to be a top 3 seed in the Western Conference, one of the best teams in the entire NBA. And he's done a phenomenal job. So you got to give flowers where it's due. So we're going to go with real rap. Real rapper cap, the Spurs will get the number 1 pick. I'm going to go with real rap. And the reason why I'm going with real rap is because, one, I'm biased. Deep down, San Antonio Spurs are my favorite team. But 2, Pop The big three era's gone. You know, we haven't been playing well these past couple of years. Kawhi left us hanging. We didn't get really no good assets from DeMar and LaMarcus Aldridge when they were together. So I feel like it's just right to give Pop this foreign play. We love our foreign players, Tim Duncan, Miles Ginobili, Tony Parker, and then the role plays we've had over the years. Granted, Virgin Islands is a part of the U.S. territory, but I think compared to the other teams, Charlotte, Michael Jordan's still on the team. The Rockets looks like they don't really have any form of leadership as well, too. The Spurs just make the most sense, and we need him in a small market like San Antonio. And I think that's going to be good for Victor moving forward for longevity for his brand. So I'm going to go with real rap. Real rapper Cap, Jimmy Butler will ruin a top seed team for a good playoff run. If the playoffs started today, they would go up against the Celtics. Now, will the Celtics flip that switch? We don't know. But if there's any person with his goons to upset someone, it would be Jimmy Mother Butler Buckets. But I'm going to go with Cap. Just because compared to his roster with what Spo has to work with what Pat Riley's put into place versus the Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, even Cavs and the 76ers, I just don't see this team getting past any of these top 4 teams I mentioned. Now, they can possibly beat the Cavs or the Knicks, but that's going to be tough. You're asking Jimmy to kind of do a lot as well, too, but I do believe he's going to go off, but this Cap, he's not going to upset that. Real rapper Cap, Luka would be more likely to leave his franchise over Embiid. I'm going to go with real rap. I think he wants to win so bad. If you can't re-sign Kyrie or try to do a sign and trade to get another comparable player back, I think he would be one of those players to try to get some movement. And the best person to team up with, Joker. Real rapper Cap, Kawhi would want out if Clippers don't make a playoff push. I'm gonna go Cap. I think LeBron. I think Kawhi loves the weather here. You know, it's good for his knees. You know, he's got a lot of things kind of going on here, and I think if it was anybody to leave, he would have to say because he's the franchise player, and I think they would move on from Paul George as opposed to him, especially with this injury that came up. We don't know what exactly he's going to look like with Paul George, so I'm gonna go with Cap. And last but not least, real rapper Cap, Portland GM will have a sit down with Dame in the offseason about their future long term. I'm gonna say real rap because for selfish reasons. If I'm the owner, I want to rebuild and try to, emulate what the Kings are doing, try to emulate what, the Nuggets are doing, try to emulate what Memphis is doing. All these young teams are just on the rise. Even with Phoenix done before they even got KD, it's just that time. It's just that time. But ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 128 of the Seezus Show. I hope you guys enjoyed this fun-filled solo dolo episode. And let me know what you think. What were my strengths? What were my weaknesses? What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? I want to know. Subscribe on all platforms at TheSeezus Show, at Sir Seezus, at Carl Conyers, at Terrence Whaley _. And if I have any last words to share with you guys that's a tough one. What do I want to share with you guys? Surround yourselves with like-minded individuals. And if you truly care about something, give it 110%. Because luck favors the prepared. And I never want you guys to not seize the moment. And with that being said, I'm out.